Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with ISMG. I want to welcome you to our session today where the topic is weaving agentic AI into the SOC, a practical playbook for operationalizing and scaling autonomy. Joining me today is Benjamin Spencer. You know him as Product Director with Optiv. And before I bring him on to our virtual stage, let me give you some background on our session today. Agentic AI is moving fast, but most security leaders are still asking the same question: how do you operationalize security inside a modern SOC without creating new risk, noise, or brittle automation? In this session, Benjamin shares a pragmatic approach for integrating agentic AI into detection and response workflows, grounded in real-world lessons learned from SOC modernization and MDR operations. We will walk through where autonomous agents add measurable value and where they don't, the controls and guardrails needed for safe deployment, and the organizational and technical hurdles teams hit when moving from pilot to production. You hear war stories from the field: what broke, what worked, what we do differently, plus practical guidance for scaling agentic AI across enterprise environments and not just small test areas. A little bit about my organization. ISMG is a 20-year-old global education and intelligence firm. We are based in the U.S. in Princeton, New Jersey, and you may know us by any number of our 38 media properties. They include Bank Info Security, Data Breach Today, AItoday.io. In all, we serve an audience of over 2 million security and technology leaders globally, and we give them a daily diet of news, analysis, research, events, and educational programs exactly like this one. Just a few notes of housekeeping. If you have any questions for Benjamin, you can submit them anytime by the chat window on your screen. I may not be able to get to every one of those questions, but any question we don't answer here today, we'll get a response back to you via email. Should you encounter any technical issues while viewing today's webinar, please take down the email address you see on your screen now. If you write to webinars@ismg.io, we have got support staff standing by to help. And one reminder, today's webinar is copyrighted material meant for today's session and individual study purposes only. If you would like to use any of the information presented today, or if you're looking for customized training materials, contact us, please. Let's meet our sponsor, Optiv. Optiv is a leading cybersecurity solutions integrator that helps organizations manage cyber risk and strengthen their security posture across the entire enterprise. They provide a comprehensive range of services, including advisory, deployment, and managed security services, partnering with top technology providers to deliver tailored solutions. And with deep expertise across cloud security, identity management, threat detection, and compliance, Optiv supports clients in navigating complex security challenges while enabling business growth and resilience. And now it is my privilege to introduce Ben Spencer. He leads the engineering and delivery efforts around Optiv's detection and response products. He built and shipped Optiv's AI-powered agentic SOC from concept to production, delivering an 80% reduction in mean time to respond across live enterprise environments. And with that, round of applause and welcome for Ben Spencer. Ben, thanks so much for being a part of this discussion today.
Tom, great to be here. I really appreciate everyone having me and getting the chance to talk about some, I think, really interesting topics.
Well, it's clear agentic AI is moving fast. Well, so what? What does this mean for the SOC?
Tom, I get that question a lot. There's a lot of different perspectives about this. I think everyone can kind of agree at this point that it's changing things, and they're changing things in a fundamental manner. But we haven't really seen, I think, the results that are necessarily being promised in most organizations. On the other hand, I think a lot of organizations are starting to see and pick up, what does Agentic SOC actually do for us? What does it mean for us? So from my perspective and Optiv's perspective, Agentic SOC, I think, is a rethinking of where do we spend human hours and time on versus what are we going out there and trying to say, hey, let's leverage those agents in our security operations practices.
So, Ben, you get to see lots of organizations across many different sectors. Where do you see traditional SOC personnel and operations actually unprepared to operationalize AI and detection and response workflows?
This is something, so I was just at RSA a couple of weeks ago, and RSA, for anyone who wasn't there, was just entirely about AI and AI SOC. I think that was like 90% of the boost there. What I heard repeatedly from lots of people that I talked to, lots of people who were not vendors, was, hey, this is great, but it just sounds like SOAR and it's automated via AI. And I think that's where a lot of SOCs are starting to run into problems is treating AI like an upgraded SOAR that you don't have to do as much engineering work on. It was something that we tried here at Optiv and was our initial probably 4 months of trying to operationalize agentic AI. And ultimately, we ran into a lot of problems with that setup.
So let's start here. What value do autonomous agents bring to the SOC?
So I think the real value that autonomous agents bring to the SOC is less so of automating certain workflows and more so of being points that can go in there and make decisions based off of data that you provide them. It's less of the, hey, go out there and do X, Y, and Z action or you run this playbook, and more so, hey, what happened in this instance? And what should we do about it? It's providing that analysis layer that traditionally we've never been able to get. You could never write a playbook that would give you analysis of some sort of alert like you can today.
Okay. Flip side. What new risks are introduced?
And that's where the flip side comes in is you basically kind of have to trust the AI if you're asking it to do some sort of analysis that it's going to be accurate, that it's not going to hallucinate, that it's going to be somewhat accurate. And then anything or anyone that you have review the analysis, you basically have to say, hey, go in here and double check the information. So you introduce two different risks. You introduce the risk of inaccuracy, which has always kind of been there, right? Not every analyst is going to hit 100% of the time. I certainly didn't when I was a practitioner. But on the flip side, the different piece here is you're double checking something that sounds confident and it might be incorrect. So as analysts go in and analyze alerts, they're having to basically go against what's being presented to them and go in and maybe not redo, but go in and double check things.
Okay. So because of that, we need guardrails. What would you say are the necessary controls and guardrails for secure deployment today?
This is where Optiv, I think, really took a turn when we were developing and building our agentic SOC. Is we went away from the idea that, hey, the LLM output is always going to be accurate or it's going to do what we want it to. Instead, we said, okay, what is the best way to get something, maybe not deterministic, because LLMs can never be deterministic, but what's the best way that we can get some sort of structured output from these agents that will help us in a SOC standpoint? So for us, the guardrails really come down to creating structured output, providing it and querying and making sure the input that we provide the agent is going to be effective and accurate for the context that it needs to make its decisions and analysis. And then on the flip side, having some sort of actual person in the workflow to at least sanity check things. It doesn't have to, that person doesn't have to redo the work that the agent did, but it has to sanity check and make sure that there's no obvious inaccuracies.
Okay. So take me from pilot to production. What are some of the hurdles that one should expect to see?
So really, it's going to be a complete reimagining of how you do things. Like I said at the start, well, there's this great quote about how people have started using SOAR, and it was basically a electric motor trying to pull on pulleys in a ancient factory. What you really have to do is you have to go into this eyes wide open, knowing that you're going to go in here and rebuild certain processes and procedures from an AI perspective. Hey, what is the AI going to do here? And then how do we build people around it as opposed to how does the AI come in here and augment the people? Just a complete flip around of what you're thinking. That's the first thing. You're going to run into problems with that. It's a very difficult mindset to switch. You're going to make some mistakes. The other piece as you come in there is you're going to realize that not everything integrates the way that it is maybe hyped to on LinkedIn and whatever other social media is out there. You have to go in and you have to start looking at, okay, what can we actually take in a manner that's going to be useful? And what do we have to leave out and maybe just have as a secondary process or move outside of the processes? You really have to think about this not in a technical manner, but also at the layer of, hey, there is processes and procedures that we've built that we're going to have to rearrange to fit this new model so that we can really get a lot of leverage and capability out of this.
Benjamin, I've heard it called an evolution. I've heard it called a revolution. How is Optiv helping customers to make this transition?
So it really is a revolution. I think I've been saying that, repeatedly throughout this. If you have to rebuild things and you have to redo things, it's not like SOAR, where SOAR came in and promised to automate everything in your SOC. That never happened. This can do agentic AI can genuinely come in and rework your workflows. What Optiv is doing is we are coming in and we're bringing that capability to clients. We're coming in and saying, hey, we have an agentic workflow that's going to do X, Y, and Z. We've built SOAR pieces of this that we can take advantage of, and we can leverage that maturity for clients' environments. Your team doesn't have to spend the time sitting there continuing to do the same work that they've done day to day. Instead, they can go focus on introducing further agentic capabilities and capabilities and maturity capabilities into the SOC. They can go in and less focus day to day, more focus on how do we mature and get to that next level.
Okay, if it's a revolution, then what kind of war stories or lessons learned can you share?
I think the biggest one for us is right at the beginning. Right when I came on, really as our product director, we came on, and back in September, we were still kind of in that, hey, this is going to be a more advanced SOAR mode. And so what we did was we started trying to basically put all of this data into this LLM that we're using. And it was so incredibly funny when at the end of the month, we came back, we started looking at how much money we'd spent on tokens, which was a lot of money spent on tokens. And then we started looking at output, and it was basically completely unusable. It had no basis in reality. It mixed up alerts, it mixed up incidents. There was different recommendations that were wholly not going to work from a cybersecurity perspective. And in the end, what we saw was just it was basically, oh man, this is completely bogus. It took us several weeks after that to go back and rethink, okay, what are we actually doing that's wrong here? And then how do we go in here and actually improve this? So biggest war story there was the beginning piece where I think a lot of people are at is you're probably going to run into that moment where you think this is all just nonsense before you reach that different point of saying, okay, we actually can use this and it's going to be something that's going to change the way that we work.
Okay, Benjamin, you can draw upon your experience and really help our listeners here. What questions do they need to be asking about their own SOC capabilities today for maximizing AI?
I think the big thing that they need to think about is where can they go in and not think about automation, right? Automation is not where things are at anymore. The SOAR piece is, like I said, not where you need to be at. What can you use a tool that's really great at data aggregation and summarization, and how can you go in there and use that to make your processes faster? The obvious function, analysis at the SOC, especially at a tier one, tier two level. I don't like the tiers, but it's the best way to describe it. And then the other piece is in ultimately going in and taking advantage of reports and different functionality there. What can you use AI to go in there and really aggregate the data that you're using and say, okay, what are things that we can have something go in there and analyze this and produce an output that I could use elsewhere? These time savings in my organization have saved us dozens of hours a week. It's insane the amount of cost savings that we're getting from it, and we're not running into the same issues that we ran at the front end where it was completely unusable output.
Benjamin, we've covered a lot in a short period of time here. Where can our attendees go to learn even more about Optiv and your services?
Optiv.com is the easiest way. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. Search me up, Benjamin Spencer. I'm our director for Optiv on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to have a conversation about where we're going and what it's looking like in the real world from an agentic SOC standpoint. I'm a practitioner at heart. I did incident response, so always happy to have those technical questions and talk about, hey, where are we moving towards?
Well, grateful for the insight. Thank you so much for your time and for answering my questions today.
Thanks, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank our attendees as well. You took time out of your day to attend this session. We're grateful for that, and I trust you're walking away with some excellent new ideas you can put to work. As always, I look forward to seeing you at one of our sessions down the road. Until then, for ISMG, I'm Tom Field. Thank you so much for giving us your time and attention today.